Today I wanted to tell you about how I unwind after a busy counselling shift. And this was an adjustment for me because I work in counselling shifts, which is a lot of talking with people. I'm an extrovert, so I enjoy talking to people, but I would feel extremely tired after a counselling shift. I also am working with screens a lot of the day, so my eyes are tired. I can't really read. I don't really want to talk to anyone. I definitely don't want to be scrolling on my phone. If things are not going well, I will just lie on the lounge, scroll on my phone, Instagram, YouTube to unwind, and I don't feel good after I do that. So I've had to be really intentional about how I unwind after a busy counselling shift. So this is what I do. I've got a couple of things that I do. One is I have a jigsaw puzzle going in the lounge room on a coffee table in the corner. I can actually show you my jigsaw at the moment. So this is my jigsaw, work in progress. Hello, Pow Pow. So this is where, hello. So this is where I go, and usually there's other people in the lounge room. So it's a way for me to be present with the family. They might be watching football sports, or they might be watching their phones. So at least we're in the same room together and I can do that. And so that's something to engage me in a relaxing way that doesn't involve a screen, reading words, or talking to someone. And I think this is really key. So I was talking to someone the other day who was trying to manage their alcohol use. And, you know, when pouring a glass of wine becomes your way to unwind, and you don't want to be having a glass of wine every night, that is not helpful. So being really intentional, and sometimes I just sit down and I might get one piece, or I might just get a couple of pieces, or I might just sort some colors. But it's just giving me something to do so I can unwind, a bit of white space for my mind as I unwind from the intense work that I do. Sometimes it's, psychologically taxing, but either way, it's tiring work. So an 8-hour counselling shift, talk to a lot of clients, you have to be conscious of your time, all of those things. So having a way to unwind is really helpful. I also read fiction or non-fiction. I'm pretty good at reading in the earlier parts of the day. In the evening, I will read my Bible before bed as a way to unwind as well. And so I think having a couple of things to do, and when you first try and do things like a puzzle or reading, it's hard to keep your attention on it, because I feel like as we've become more reliant on our phones and we've been scrolling reels and stuff, which are very short attention grabbing bits of information, it's a real effort to do something that's slower. And so for reading, when I was talking to this person, I sometimes have to be really disciplined with myself and say, right, I'm going to be sitting in this chair for 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how much time I have, and I'm only going to read my book. And it's really easy to get impatient and say, oh, this is too hard to read, or I can't get into the story, but you need to give it a bit of time. So giving yourself, I'm going to sit here for 15 minutes reading. If I don't feel like reading, I can just relax. Another thing to do is, say you've got a few books that you're thinking about reading, just sit down with a few books. And you might read the blurbs on the books. You might decide which one you're going to start reading. You might start reading one book and think, no, I'm not really in the mood for this, and you can start on the next book. So just having that discipline around just focusing on reading if it's something that you want to have in your day. And I think also listening to yourself. The other day it was in the afternoon, I did have some time to myself, and I thought I'm just going to sit down and watch a show that I'd been thinking about watching. But I honestly couldn't sit still. I just was constantly thinking to go and jump on my email or check Instagram, or that really terrible pattern you get on when you pick up your phone. And so I just went outside and started weeding the garden. Now, obviously, I can't do that in the evening after a shift if it's dark and cold and wintry. But just listening to your body, for me, pulling out some weeds in the garden was a really nice way to unwind as well in that moment. So I hope you found this helpful. You do really have to be intentional. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention about reading was I'm a part of a book club. And joining a book club is a really good idea because you have to read books that you might not read. Of course, sometimes I pick up a book and I really give it a good go and I read the first 4 or 5 chapters. Sometimes I don't get that far and I say, you know what, I don't want to read this book. And that's okay. That's an intentional choice. I can go to book club and say I tried to, but I couldn't read it for these reasons. But generally, I'm actually really pleased that joining a book club has opened up new authors to me that I wouldn't have read if I wasn't in a book club. And it also is another reason for me to sit and read and gets me off my phone. So I think none of us are immune from being trapped on the scrolling of the phone. So I hope this is helpful. Great to see you, YouTube. I'm going to be doing a how I video once a week. It's great to see all of my old subscribers here. I've definitely missed you. Please, if you are not a subscriber, please do subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.